Hello. We are starting chapter 7 of Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus. The next day at lunchtime, I headed to the bathroom again to wash my feet. But this time, when I finished, I couldn't bring myself to leave. I thought about the other kids watching me while I ate, and my stomach cramped up painfully like it had the day before. I locked myself in the handicapped stall and sat down. I pulled out my lunch and began eating, careful not to put my bare foot on the floor or drop my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which would pretty much put an end to eating that day. I always ate peanut butter and jelly at school. That's because peanut butter and jelly sticks together nicely. A turkey sandwich with lettuce, tomato, and cheese would be a disaster for me. I'd seen people who couldn't even eat turkey sandwiches with their hands without stuff falling out all over the place. I imagine trying to eat a sandwich like that in the bathroom, everything ending up on the gross floor except a single slice of mayonnaise bread I still managed to hold in my toes. I giggled at the thought. As I munched on a carrot, I heard a couple of girls enter the bathroom. They were talking about some cute boy who had looked at one of them. I rolled my eyes and continued crunching on my carrot, hopeful it wasn't as loud to them as it was to me. A ton of boys had looked at me. Heck, boys were looking at me all the time, but I didn't think this was how the boy had looked at this girl. When the bathroom was finally quiet and the girls had obviously left, I packed up my stuff and headed to class. Art went a little better that day. Mr. Jeffries had apparently learned his lesson and didn't make any more pleas for help on my behalf. That the day after that, I couldn't bring myself to eat in the bathroom stall again. Besides the fact that it was flat out gross, it was also depressing. Instead of my Instead, I told myself to stop being such a coward. I ignored my cramping stomach, and I sat in the same secluded spot I had sat reading on my first day. And I ate my lunch, hoping no one would notice me. Some kids did pass by and sneak glances at me, but I tried not to pay any attention to them or to my thumping heart. At one point, a group of 3 girls walked up to me as I took a bite of my string cheese, carefully held between 2 toes. I dropped it onto my napkin, not wanting them to see me eat it like that. I smiled nervously at the girls. Hi, one of the girls said. She had on a cute flowery tank top with spaghetti straps, and once again I felt the sting of being too afraid to wear such a thing. Hi, I said. How are you? I hoped desperately I hadn't any food on my face because I wasn't about to wipe my mouth with my foot or shoulder. We're good, another girl said. She was also very stylish, dressed in a cute green tank top and jean shorts. How are you? Good, I said, hoping the girls weren't just there out of curiosity. I scolded myself for assuming that was all that interested them. Maybe they were going to ask me to come sit with them so I didn't have to eat lunch alone. Is it, okay if we ask you what happened to your arms? Flowery tank top girl asked. Yep, curiosity, I sighed. I didn't have the energy to tell them my arms were chopped off in a guillotine or something like that, and these girls seemed far too nervous. I would probably terrify them. So instead, I recited, I have an extremely rare genetic disorder that causes malfunction of the limbs. The girls looked alarmed. Is it contagious? Green tank top girl asked. I gazed at the girl, searching her face to see if she was serious. I imagined passing my armlessness on to other people, their fully grown arms shrinking and shriveling and getting sucked up into their shoulders with a terrible slurping sound after I touched them. I slowly shook my head and spoke carefully so she would understand. No, it's genetic. That means you have to be born with it. The girls' faces all relaxed as a flowery tank top girl said, Oh, that's good. It was nice meeting you. I watched them walk away. I looked down at my string cheese. The girls hadn't met me at all. They hadn't even asked me my name. No, what they had met were my missing arms. It was all they had seen and all that had interested them. And not just out of curiosity, but because they were afraid they could catch it from me. I didn't feel hungry anymore. I packed up the rest of my lunch, stuck it in my bag, and waited for the bell to ring. Chapter 8. Behind Stagecoach Pass, at the center of the dirt trail where Billy and Fred lug around an endless stream of screaming children, stands a mountain. It's a tiny mountain. Well, maybe mountain is too generous of a word for it. It's more of a hill. A mighty hill that desperately wants to be a mountain, but a hill nonetheless. I like to walk down Main Street in the early evenings as the air starts to cool and the sky turns colors I've never seen before. I stop for a quick visit with Spaghetti, the poor mutant llama. Spaghetti, who understands how it feels to be ostracized by other kids. If no one is in the soda shop, Henry might be sitting outside on the front porch in one of the old rocking chairs. He always waves at me and says, "Good evening, little Avon." I pretend to be captivated by something way off in the distance when I pass by Bob at the gold mine, careful not to make eye contact with him. Though a trail winds around the hill, no trail goes up the hill, so I navigate around cactuses that look like ping pong paddles and giant troll doll hair to get to the top, watching the ground for scorpions and rattlesnakes. The soles of my shoes pick up lots of little cactus needles as I walk, and Mom has to dig them out with tweezers when I get home. At the top of the hill stands an enormous saguaro cactus. It's probably as tall as about 10 of me standing on top of the other. It has 7 impressive arms reaching out into the colorful night sky. Show off. Dad says the saguaro is likely over 200 years old. He had to Google saguaros to find that out. I like to sit on the hard desert dirt and think of all the things that have happened in the saguaro's life. It stood here when Stagecoach Pass was built 60 years ago and when Arizona became a state over 100 years ago. It stood here as the Civil War raged on the other side of the country, when women were finally granted the right to vote, and when Martin Luther King Jr. gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. Billions of people have been born and have died in its lifetime. And of course, it stood there on the day I was born and will likely stand here on the day I die. I am an entirely insignificant event in the life of a cactus. Did you wonder how we got the title? I'll read that part again. I am an entirely insignificant event in the life of a cactus. I try to remember that as the sky darkens and the lights of Scottsdale and Phoenix brighten up the earth. Millions of lights for millions of people. And then there's just me, sitting in the dirt on a mighty hill, being circled by a poor old donkey and a tired camel. So, after all, did it really matter that the kids at school didn't talk to me? That they probably wished I wasn't there making them feel uncomfortable? That they were afraid of me? It shouldn't have, and I didn't want it to, but it did.